All right, let's stay in California. Let's go to Los Angeles. That's where Ethan Bierman is tonight. Ethan is a U.S. political commentator. He's a nationally syndicated talk radio host. Ethan, it's good to have you back on the day. U.S. President Trump is in your neck of the woods in California today. What are people saying about him and his re-election hopes, considering that he has put the blame on the states for not properly managing their forests?
Well, anybody who's not already a Trump supporter looks at it with not pleasant comments in return. 57% of the state's forests are actually controlled by the federal government. So if President Trump over the last 3.5+ years doesn't like how they were managed, that's on him. 3% of the state's forests are managed by the state of California. And to have our governor essentially begging the president, who Vice President Joe Biden just called a climate arsonist, begging him for help as nearly 24 people have lost their lives. It's a sad and desperate situation that we have a president lacking empathy for the people of California. He just simply lacks empathy for the rest of us.
I want you to consider that with what Joe Biden, the Democrat presidential hopeful, said today about the fires and climate change. Take a listen.
If you give a climate arsonist 4 more years in the White House, why would anyone be surprised if we have more America ablaze? If you give a climate denier 4 more years in the White House, why would anyone be surprised when more of America is underwater?
Ethan, would you agree that these fires have placed climate change higher up on the agenda for voters there in the U.S. West where you are?
I think those of us who consider science, the scientific method, scientific observation, it clearly has moved up. Again, we have watched for nearly 4 years the sitting president rolling back environmental protections, removing policies that would stop methane emissions, pulling us out of the Paris Climate Accords, withdrawing from the world and our allies, such as Germany, working hand in hand to address such a major global issue. Those of us who aren't on the side of President Trump do consider it a dire and important situation that must be addressed now.
I want us to pull up one of your tweets which caught our eye today. You retweeted the cover of the German news magazine Stern, and on the cover is the face of President Donald Trump with the headline, "American Psycho, How Donald Trump is Systematically Destroying Democracy." Now, Ethan, I know most of your listeners are in the U.S. Why did you feel compelled to share that image with the people who follow you?
Oh, this is, thank you for asking me. This is really important, Brent. First off, Germany, obviously going back to the early 20th century, is familiar with leaders who are not well and do very bad things to the people of their country and others. And so for a German magazine to publish that, I found that critically important because while I believe in the American system and our 3 branches of government and all of these policies and structures that have been put in place for over the last 200 years, I had no concept that a single individual and his supporters and enablers would do such an advanced job of dismantling those systems so rapidly in a way that I find to be truly dangerous to our democracy. And so for the German magazine to publish that, I just find to be completely accurate and something we need to be aware of here.
Are you surprised that the mainstream media here, they see that and they print it, and yet you still have a relatively strong level of support for Donald Trump in the U.S.?
Yes and no. So because of the way human psychology works, and we know going back to people like Machiavelli, there are ways of manipulating people using fear. We see that with the far right in Germany as well and across Europe. And Donald Trump is using those same age-old methods of appealing to the lizard brain, the Jungian shadow, bringing that out in people, and people are susceptible to it. If they have pain or trauma in their own lives, he is able to manipulate. And it's dangerous, it's bad, it's wrong. I call it out, and I think more people should as well.
Before we let you go, I want to ask you about the pandemic in California. California is one of the worst hit states in the United States. Now you've got the wildfires on top of that. Someone said to me today, California dreaming is more like a California nightmare now. Is there this sense in LA where you are that all that was so spectacular about California is just falling away?
Well, in the moment, it feels like that. However, that's not the case here in California. California is still the golden state. We have so much that is happening here. We have the beautiful nature when it's not on fire, or when we have a pandemic keeping us locked in our homes. But we have the beautiful beaches, we have the deserts, the mountains, we have all the things that make California great. And along with Hollywood and agriculture, the tech industry, there's so much happening here. This is a moment in time that will pass, regardless of Donald Trump and others. However, in this moment of darkness, it is hard to see that light on the other side.
Yeah, it's a good point. And we are all big California fans here, I can tell you that. Ethan Bierman joining us tonight from Los Angeles. Ethan, as always, we appreciate your time and your insights. Thank you. Stay safe.
Thanks, Brent.